let's see. Where to begin?
Well, you just talked about the negative and positive reinforcement and the superimposed value structure, and maybe by defining those, people can kind of see what to look for if they are in a group setting or possibly being inundated with these types of techniques.
Well, okay, take artificial disruption. Now, that was started by Alexander Luria in the Soviet Union. I mean, the communists. But there are others who are working on the same thing in Germany and elsewhere. Now, what it is trying to get people to a point where they cannot hold on to their train of thought. Now, look at the kind of music we have today, and then the commercial on top of it, which is highly visual. I mean, if you have gone to a movie lately, you see all these promos before the movie ever starts. But the action is going so fast, and it cuts away to a different visual, an image or graphic every second, maybe even less than a second. You cannot keep up with it. The brain goes into overload, and that's what artificial disruption is.
Okay.
It's artificial.
So our subconscious mind might be picking up things that our conscious mind is not, and we could be being programmed possibly by what our subconscious is viewing?
Yeah. That's right. You're confusing people. Okay. For instance, when a facilitator, to put it on a very simple level, now this would be a simplistic a way of going about it. She'll come in and he or she will start out saying, okay, now when I say this word or that word, write down everything that you think of associated with that word. And it'll be some hot button thing like STDs or HIV or maybe even just whore, or something like that. And they'll make it, something that'll get your attention. But write down everything, associated with that you can think of. And then they'll keep going with a few more. Now, they may have said something before that about what this meeting or whatever it was about. But you know what? While you're making lists, you can't concentrate on that. You can't keep your train of thought like, I want to be sure that I let these people know that I am not for whatever it is. All right, you can't keep your train of thought because you have been artificially diverted and disrupted.
Yes,
you get my drift here. And you're making lists. And while you're making them, when she says these words, guess what? She's looking right at everybody. She's looking at this person and that person, and she's going down the row or across the table or whatever it is, and she is saying, okay, that guy really, his eyebrow went up on that. And then she's looking at somebody else. Oh, boy, so-and-so grimaced at that. And then she's looking at somebody else. Oh, somebody's smiling at that. And then she's taken, so if a lot of people are just kind of smiling, she's got a problem because she'll know then that they've got her number. So what you don't do is give your hand away with your body language and your smile. If you've got her number and you know she's a facilitator before you even walked in there, you do not let her know you know.
Exactly.
Or you're not going to get word one in.
Yes, and maybe because of their training, they're so egotistical that they're not going to realize that, anybody is going to clue into them, so they're going to let their ego take hold, which ultimately will end up helping them to show their cards to not just the one or two people.
Make them show their cards before you show yours. You show me yours before I show you mine.
Amen.
And that's got to be the way you walk in. And it isn't always ego. It's okay, she's been paid. She or she's been paid. She's a facilitator. That means she's got...
I'm so sorry. Hold that thought, though. We're going to pick this back up on the other side. Be right back. Truth Brigade Radio, where we never show them our cards, because you know what's so rewarding about that is they're always going to ask for more rope. You know what? Give it to them. Let them, because they will show their hand. And you know, you can learn all of these techniques and more by going to BeverlyE.com and getting the workbook titled How to Counter Group Manipulation Tactics. You can email her right off the website there. But Beverly, if you would please continue. You were talking about artificial disruption and some of the things that we can do to counter if we find ourselves in a situation like this.
Right. Well, one of the things, of course, you can do is right in the middle of her this list-making process, or whatever the diversion is once you start, recognizing it, is just to, hold up your hand and say, can we get on with it? I don't think this is serving a useful purpose. Because, she's going to end up taking up all of your papers when you're done making all these lists, and she's gotten she's been examining the body language of every person, and she just takes up the list as if she's going to keep them, and she deep sixes them. I mean, she's going to throw them away after this whole thing is over, because she tells you not to put your names on them, giving you again the perceived idea that this is your name isn't going to be associated with anything that you write down. Therefore, you are free to say whatever you want. But this freedom to say whatever you want part is going to be deep sixed. So that's just one tactic, and you want to move her along out of that once you realize what's going on. Now, cognitive dissonance is a little bit harder. Cognitive dissonance is, it's been some confusion about that, actually, but it's an attempt to establish groupthink. Technically, the definition of cognitive dissonance is a highly stressful mental or emotional reaction caused by trying to reconcile two opposing, inconsistent, or conflicting beliefs at the same time. That's the key. Held at the same time. Okay, let's take an example. The child is taught it is right to obey your parents. You should obey your parents. And it is right to behave your teacher. You should behave your teacher. Okay? Mm-hmm. You should believe your teacher. You should do what he says. So the child goes to school, gets something from his teacher that would conflict severely with whatever his parents taught him at home. Mm-hmm. So he is in a cognitive dissonance situation, because how can he reconcile that, especially if he's like 10 years old or something like that? How is he going to sort out what he's supposed to do? How can I obey my teacher and obey my parents at the same time when they conflict? Mm-hmm. When he's been told by his parents that he should do both. He's been put in an impossible situation until he's old enough to sort that out. Now, you, as an adult, are old enough to sort it out, but first you've got to realize what you're into and how to recognize it, which is what I teach in here. A dissonance by itself just means harsh, unpleasant, lacking harmony, incongruous. And obviously this definition involves feelings and perception, like harshness and unpleasantness, or emotional sensations that are unpleasant. So the two terms kind of go together. Cognitive means understanding, knowledge-based, factual, perceived, whatever is perceived that is knowledge-based or you think is factual, and then dissonance is this harsh, unpleasant, at variance, and incongruous. So you have factual dissonance, and you have to be able to sort that out, and I've devoted a whole chapter to it because it's so important. The person that came up with it was Kurt Lewin, and another fellow over here that I talk about in an upcoming article, actually, that I'm about to have published. And they had taken social conditioning, rather, to a whole new level by introducing cognitive dissonance. And so this is something that you could have the rug easily pulled out from under you. It pulls your emotional life raft out, is what it does.